What's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. Mike, how's it going, dude? We're now officially in the spooky season.
Yeah, and I'm doing a podcast with a ghost and a haunted beard. So,
oh shit,
things are looking up. Yeah, Ghost Mateo and his haunted beard. That's gonna be Mateo's punk band.
It sounds like it'd be a great trading card. I don't have regular Mateo. I have Ghost Mateo.
Well, I have his haunted beard.
Oh!
And you can combine them together and make Super Ghost Mateo. Man, we need our own card game.
Yeah, I just found that list that you made when we were going to do that.
Yeah, I still think we should do that.
We should.
We need art people. Art people, if you want to help us with art for a trading card game, please email us and let us know, because Mateo does do the arts, but different arting styles would be awesome for a trading card game, and we'll give you details and stuff on what we're looking for. But please come forth and let us know.
Yeah, no joke at all. We already have like a place that'll make the cards.
And I've got rules, and I got all sorts of shit going on. I wrote this all up a few years ago, and I'm bound and determined to do this, guys. I want to do it. We just need more artists.
Yeah,
Mateo. I can't expect Mateo to draw. I don't even remember how many cards it was. I think it was like 60 cards or something.
Yeah, I think it was 72 cards.
Oh shit! Yeah, see, 72 cards. But yeah. So let us know.
So what are we covering tonight?
Well, tonight, because it's Halloween-y type season, figured we'd get a little spooky. And we don't often talk about things, I shouldn't say we don't often talk about things that are like pop culture related, because we go off on tangents like a motherfucker, but we don't typically do a show centered around pop culture things unless it's like a nerd alert or on casting what's, because we'll cast the shit out of some what's, I'll tell you. But tonight I wanted to talk about this movie. It's a Netflix original movie. Well, I don't know if it's an original, but it's a Taiwanese movie that's on Netflix called Incantation. And just a heads up before we even start, because of what I'm going to be discussing in relation to that, there's going to be spoilers for the movie. So if you're into found footage horror movie and don't mind the fact that it's all, well, you can watch it with dubbed lines as well. But to me, it's just not the same because it's voice acting. It's not the actual actors. So it kind of takes me out. And obviously the lips don't line up with the dialogue, which also bugs me. But if you don't mind that, or if you'd prefer to read the subtitles, if you don't mind that, recommend watching it. It's the best horror movie I've seen this year, I think. It's up there, but I am a sucker for found footage movies, so do with that what you will. But it's not like I wouldn't say it's like a shaky thing, like a Blair Witch Project type deal.
Oh, good.
Yeah, there's a purpose for it being in that format, which is part of the ending twist in the movie is the reason why it's a found footage movie. But we're not going to just talk about the movie. I want to discuss the movie, but mainly I want to get into the case that inspired the movie. Now, it's not one of those movies that's based on true stories. It's inspired by a true story. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre was inspired by a true story, but it's not based on it, that sort of thing.
Right.
But the movie itself, highly, highly recommend. I'll give a quick like spoiler-free rundown of what it's about, just so you can make the decision whether or not you want to see this before proceeding with the rest of the episode. But this movie is about a woman. It's non-linear, so it starts in like the modern day, but then it cuts back to 6 years earlier, but it's still found footage style. So you're seeing footage from 6 years ago, and then it goes back. So you find out that this woman was involved in breaking a spiritual taboo. Her and her boyfriend and their friend have like I don't know if it was YouTube or what, some sort of internet show where they investigate haunted places and like they basically debunk the notion that these places are haunted or that paranormal activity is going on. So the ancestral home of actually they're brothers, they weren't friends. The ancestral home of this woman's boyfriend and his brother, they've got there's this tunnel there that's a forbidden tunnel, and like you're not supposed to go in there. There's an evil spirit in there, and they went back to their home with the intention of filming this tunnel that's forbidden. You're not supposed to go in there. No one's supposed to go in there. And they end up unleashing a curse, which the day they get there, they find out that she's pregnant. And they unleash this curse, and she goes crazy and gets her kid taken away, and then goes down like this rabbit hole of drugs and alcohol and everything. And she gets better, and then so in the modern day, which is 6 years later, she's getting her kid back, and she finds out that the curse has extended to her daughter, and the movie is about her trying to break the curse. So that aspect of the movie, that whole story, has nothing to do with the events that inspired it, but there's certain aspects of the story that tie in with the actual events. Horror movies have a long history of this inspired by true stories bullshit, and even the bullshit with the based on true story is for the most part bullshit. I mean, how many different Ed and Lorraine Warren movies have we seen?
Right.
Or I should say, how many movies have come out based on their investigations? I mean, the whole Conjuring universe is based on their investigations. You know, they have a film franchise now. But then you get other story or other movies like Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre that were loosely based on an actual killer, and they're more inspired by a true story type thing. I mean, when the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, that was definitely like pushed like it could have been real. Like, you know, the whole opening monologue by John Larroquette.
Yeah, it really did. There was rumors like when you were like almost too young to watch it, that it was based on an actual thing that happened instead of inspired by.
Right. And it was obviously Ed Gein was the inspiration, but Ed Gein never killed anyone with a chainsaw or did, you know, all of that shit. That was a whole different thing. But you know, he was the one that inspired Leatherface and that whole story, the whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre story. But and I believe he also inspired Norman Bates as well.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, it's a great marketing tool, you know, and it causes people to, I think, especially for horror movies, because you say that it's based on a true story or inspired by true events or whatever, and it makes it real all of a sudden. It's like, oh shit, this isn't a horror movie. Like, this shit really fucking happened. So it's a great marketing tool.
Yeah.
But before I get into spoilers about the movie, I want to talk about the events that inspired it. So I can kind of, after I talk about that, I can kind of show points in the movie where the inspiration came from and then share my own bullshit theory about the movie and the ending of the movie and how it could possibly actually relate to these real life events, and that maybe there's a reason for the movie rather than just being entertainment. So the actual events of this movie, they took place in 2005 in the Gushan district in Taiwan. The case itself, it's very hard to find detailed information on. Names other than the last name of the the family name were hard to come by. I didn't find any of the actual names. There was no official police report of the case, but there were 2 Taiwanese news publications that reported on it. So that's where most of this information comes from.
Okay.
But once you hear where the story goes, it's kind of weird that there's no official police report of this happening. And now it's, we're almost 20 years removed from the events, and it's kind of taken on like an urban legend status in the Gushan district in Taiwan. But this story revolves around the Wu family, and the parents, the mother and father, were painters, and they had 4 children who were all in their 20s. At least one of the daughters was a nurse, and I believe that the youngest daughter was still in college, but the oldest daughter was the only one who was living away from the area. She was in Taipei during the time, or I should say in the time leading up to these events. But the Wu family in general were known to their acquaintances and their friends as being a very spiritual family, but they were also very superstitious, and that will likely come into play as the story goes on. But in February 2005, the youngest daughter visited a small island. There's no information why she was there, what she was doing at this, like what the significance was, but she was visiting this small island, and when she came home, she became ill. And the illness led to her claiming that she was becoming possessed by this divine being known as the Third Prince. And it's thought that the Third Prince that she's referring to is this deity known as Neza, who's also called the Third Lotus Prince, or Neza the Prince, or Prince Neza. But he's actually, he's not like a malevolent deity. He's not some, like, if he's not looking to, like, if he were to possess someone, he wouldn't be making them sick and causing distress or anything. He's a god of protection, and he's also seen as being the god of children because he's a god of protection. So he looks over the children. Within, I think it was like a week or so after being possessed, the youngest daughter claimed that she had a vision where her oldest sister was in danger. So she called her, and like I mentioned, she was living in Taipei at the time, and she calls her oldest sister and tells her that she has this feeling that she's in danger and that she should come home and be with the family just so that she can make sure she's safe. And I believe that Taipei is a couple hours away, but she made the trip and returned back home. And once she returned home, she began having these vivid nightmares where she was being sexually assaulted. And they were like super real, and they were reoccurring. They happened almost every night for about a month. And at the end of the month, she received a strange phone call. And no one in the family or there's no records of who called her or even what the call was about. But as soon as the call was over, she started acting strange. And shortly thereafter, she became possessed by specific bodhisattva, which in Buddhist beliefs, it's believed that a being that's a bodhisattva is going to be a future Buddha. But this specific bodhisattva is the representation of the compassion of all Buddhas. So all Buddhas that existed in the past or the future, this being represents their compassion. So it seems weird that a being like this would possess somebody. That doesn't seem to be displaying compassion. But the oldest daughter became so obsessed with this idea that she said her goal was to eliminate all disaster in the world and help others. But then she began to regularly beat herself. And I attribute that kind of being to like the way that Catholic monks would do the self-flagellation.
Right.
Way back in the day. I think that's what was trying to be achieved there, but also she's claiming that she's possessed by this spiritual being. The weird thing is, after she became possessed, the other 4 family members also began to claim that they were being possessed by some sort of spirit or a deity. The father himself claimed to be possessed by this being known as the Jade Emperor, who in Chinese mythology is said to be the first god. The mother of the family claimed to be possessed by a being named, and I'm sorry guys, forgive my pronunciation of some of these names. I'm clearly not fluent. And so I'm apologizing, but I'm going to make a shot and try it. But the mother claimed that she was possessed by a being named Ji Wang Mu, who is also known as the Queen Mother.
Well, they're going big, huh?
Yeah.
The first god and the Queen Mother.
Right, yeah. And in the mythology, the Queen Mother is married to the Jade Emperor, so it kind of makes sense. But I think that the Queen Mother might be the being that the deity in the Incantation is loosely based on. But she's a demonic entity that actually repented against her demonic nature and achieved enlightenment. And so now she's responsible for all life and death.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then the middle daughter claimed to be possessed by the 7 fairies. In the mythology, the 7 fairies were actually the daughters of the Jade Emperor and the Queen Mother. So this daughter was possessed by all 7 fairies, apparently. And then the youngest son claimed to be possessed by this being called the Acting Master.
Dang.
And yeah, that sounds pretty ominous and creepy. But the weird thing is, so all these family members, from the youngest to the oldest and the parents, are all claiming that they are possessed by these seemingly beneficial deities. Like good deities to have on your side. They're not like the trickster god or the god of evil and the god of pestilence. Like none of that shit. Like these are all, god deities of protection, or the first god, or the mother of life and death. I mean, this is good shit. But despite being possessed by these good deities, each member of the family thought that they were the only ones that were possessed by a deity, and were convinced that the other 5 members of the family were actually possessed by demons.
Ooh, so they were all kind of pitted against each other.
Yeah. And they were all convinced that the demons that were inside the other family members were only appearing as these good deities to the hosts themselves. So it was like the person that was possessed was being tricked into thinking they were being possessed by the deities, but everybody else could see that they were possessed by demons.
Okay.
So it was at this point, because the entire family was convinced that they were all possessed, and everyone thought that they were the only good one and everyone else was possessed. So they started trying to exorcise the demons. And in order to do that, the family began to beat each other with sticks and spirit tablets and crutches.
Oh.
Yeah, and spirit tablets are basically like prayer books. And in addition to that, they would also light incense and then burn each other with the incense.
Yikes. Okay, so I mean, just right off the bat, I mean, like, if you're telling me this is one person doing this, I could say mental illness, but what, like the entire family?
Yeah, it started with the youngest saying that she was possessed by the god of protection, which is what prompted her to call her sister, because she got this vision that her sister was in danger. So being possessed by the god of protection, she calls her sister home for protection. But then her sister comes home and starts having these dreams where she's being sexually assaulted, and then she becomes possessed, and then everybody becomes possessed. So just with that information, what if the youngest, when she called, she was actually being warned about what would, like, the vision that she had was that her sister was going to be possessed. And so she called her sister thinking she was helping, but what she did was end up fulfilling that prophecy. And her sister came home, and these dreams that she was having where she was being sexually assaulted, what if she was being visited by a demon, like an incubus or a succubus, who then possessed her and then spread the possession to the other members of her family? What if the youngest daughter was the only one that wasn't possessed, who actually had the god of protection in her, but everyone else got infected with the demon?
So it would be just like a family of conduits?
Yeah, like the one is pure, and then she calls her sister trying to help her, and her sister gets basically infected with a demon, who then plants its demon seeds in the minds of all the rest of the family.
As demons do.
Yeah, you plant that seed, man. You plant that seed. But they were all possessed. Even though they were all possessed, they were all convinced that the others were demons, and they wanted to drive the demons out. So they were doing these exorcisms where they were beating each other. And then it got to the point where they thought that they could, like, purge the demon by forcing each other to drink urine and eat human feces.
Whoa.
So they began force feeding each other. And then for the next month straight, this went on. The family would beat each other, and they ate nothing but poop and drank only urine and occasionally water.
Oh, delicious.
And yeah, it's the breakfast of champions. During this time, the neighbors also reported that the family would scream and actually howl all day long. And they were seen in the windows dancing in a strange manner around the house. And for some reason, at the conclusion of that month, the family began to focus solely on the oldest daughter with their beatings and their exorcisms. And so she was the only one taking the brunt of this stuff after a month of the family sharing this. Now they're focusing just on the oldest daughter.
Did they all, like, return to normal life? Like, somebody's like, fuck this, I want a cheeseburger. And she was the only one to, like, go all in?
No, they all stayed, they kept up the exorcism, but instead of beating each other, they just beat her instead.
Wow.
And they thought, apparently, that she was actually possessed by the demon, and she was responsible for bringing the other spirits into the house. So they were focusing on her, thinking that if they could cure her, that it would, basically drive the rest of the demons out of the house. Eventually, this all took a toll on her, and she was 28 years old at the time, and she ended up dying. It's thought to have been some combination of exhaustion, trauma from the beatings, injuries sustained by the beatings, dehydration, and malnourishment. and which, it's understandable given what she is going through. She's been getting beaten with sticks and burned and eating shit and forced to live on that. It's fucking terrible. But at first, after she died, finally her body stopped fighting and just passed away, the family didn't believe that she was actually dead, and they thought that they had only killed the demon inside of her and were convinced that she was going to come back. But it took a full day before they finally snapped back into reality. And apparently the mother, it took even longer to snap back. But the day after her death, most of the family snapped back into reality, and they realized that their daughter and sister were actually dead. And when they came to this realization, it was thought that the possession itself ended. Everyone's head kind of cleared up, but I think they panicked because rather than calling the police or calling an ambulance or other emergency vehicles, they took her body in the middle of the night and they just dropped her off outside a hospital. And her body wasn't even found until the next morning when the morning crew came in and saw her outside laying there, and she was pronounced dead.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So obviously investigators were called at that point, and they went to the house, and inside the house there were all these I don't want to say religious symbols, but like spiritual or mystical symbols and spells and incantations all over the wall. They were also smeared with human waste, so they were finger painting with poopy.
Oh.
Yeah, gross. Obviously, because there's, a dead body that was just kind of left outside the fucking hospital, and the family gets brought in for questioning. And after questioning the family, they were not charged with murder, but they did get charged with it's called abandonment of a helpless person resulting in death. And there's no public record of a sentencing, but according to the Chinese law, this specific offense has a maximum sentence of 5 years. So even if someone did time, they've now been out for quite a while. But the Wu family did undergo psychological evaluation, and it was determined that they had shared delusional disorder, which is basically mass hysteria.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, studying this and reading up on this, did like a hysteria or a mania come to mind?
Yeah, I could see it being something that, but it seems weird to me that, for one, a family of 6, so you've got 6 individuals that buy into this in a very short amount of time, and they're all fucking fully into the point where they're gonna eat each other's shit and beat each other with sticks. If it is a mental thing, I suppose it could have like a placebo effect where they directed everything at the oldest daughter. So once she died, because they put all the blame on her, to them, that ended it. And that's why, that's why they kind of came out of it at that point. But also, what if she was possessed by a demon and killing her is what saved the family? What then?
If we're going outside of scientific explanation like manias and panics, it kind of does sound like it was a mass possession.
Yeah, and also, if I could just back up for a minute, let's keep in mind that one of the members of this family was a nurse.
Whoa.
So, medical background there, should know better than to eat shit. Or and I don't know, man. I can see this definitely being a case of like religious hysteria. Their neighbors and people that knew them said that they were spiritual people, but were also superstitious. And if you believe in the spirit world and believe in the possibility of possession by deities and demons, I think that it's very possible that you could go down the road where you deceive yourself enough to buy into the idea that your family is possessed by demons. And as the kids, even though they're all in their 20s, if you were raised in that environment where you were spiritual and superstitious and you saw all this fucking craziness going on, I could see how easy it would be to also think that you yourself might be possessed by a demon, because why is all this weird shit happening in your house? What do you make of it if you're a spiritual, superstitious person? Fucking demons, man.
Right. I mean, even if it was like a family with a history of, abnormally high anxiety, somebody who's living with somebody who they believe is being possessed by something, anything. They're just going to let that anxiety explode their mind. It's going to get me. I feel weird. You know what? I don't feel right. And then if they're religious fanatics, that's where it's always going to go, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In the same way, like, schizophrenics were thought to be possessed by demons in the Middle Ages. Same type of shit, I guess, with that type of thinking. So I don't know what to make of this case in reality. It's a weird one, but I could definitely see it being a mental illness thing. But it just seems weird that a whole family would get struck by mental illness at the same time and then all snap out of it once the demon/daughter is killed.
Yeah, that's why it almost seems like orchestrated, right? That's what makes me think of possession.
Yeah. But so from this story, one of the main things that was taken is the body being left outside a hospital. In the movie, there's a character who's a little girl in the past timeline. So in the 6 years ago timeline, she was a little girl who had one ear because her other ear was cut off to sacrifice to what they call the Mother Buddha. That's what the deity is referred to in the movie. And it's to appease the Mother Buddha and to help save the family. But in the present timeline, she's found naked outside of the hospital with all these runes, or I can't remember what the Chinese characters are, but I believe it's like written in an ancient dialect, so it's not modern Chinese. Anyway, they're written all over her body, and she's unconscious outside the hospital, and they just find her there in the morning. Someone had left her body there. So, that's taken directly from this. Other than that, I think just the possession aspect is pulled from here. In the movie, if you look at in that Forbidden Temple, there is and spoilers are coming up now, guys. I warned you at the beginning, but I'll warn you again now. Spoilers from this point on, even though I just gave some, so I'm sorry if you were planning on waiting. My bad. Sorry. But when you see some of the footage from 6 years ago, what happens is the main character in the movie, she stays outside the cave, and the two brothers go in, and they see the face of the mother goddess. There's a statue, and she's got like this cloth over her head, and there's a statue. They lift the cloth off the statue and look at the face, and it drives them. One brother instantly starts headbutting a stone slab until his head pretty much caves in. The other brother gets so scared he just runs out and leaves and ends up jumping off a roof of a building and killing himself. But this family home where they are, it's like this little village. They have this chant they do. It's 6 syllables, and you hear the syllables in the beginning, and the main character she tells you to repeat the syllables out loud or think them in your head. Either way, it doesn't matter. Just do that. And she's basically leading you to believe that saying those syllables is going to help to save her daughter. So what you end up finding out is that these syllables that you think are a chant that's protecting, like a chant for protection, because everyone in the village uses this chant. It's done like a prayer, and you're led to believe that it's protection. But what you find out is that this chant is actually a curse. And by saying those words, you are accepting the curse. But the thing with the curse is, the more people that have the curse, the weaker the curse becomes. So that's the whole point in the found footage thing, because she's doing this whole recording of what's going on. So she documented when she first picks up her daughter again after she got her daughter taken away. And she was originally documenting that so she could show her daughter when they grew old together, when she grew up, and she's like, oh, look, this is our first day reuniting, and she documented everything. But now she's using it as part of this. And the reason she had the viewer acknowledge those words was so that the viewer would accept the curse, thinking that it was to help. And then in the end, she reveals that she did this intentionally, but she's putting this out into the world so that more people can see it, so that the more people that are cursed, the weaker the curse is. So at that point now, you as the viewer seeing it are cursed, and it's up to you to get other people to see the movie so that they are also cursed, but it'll lessen it. And so the more people that see it, the weaker the curse is, and presumably it'll be to the point where it'll be so weak where it won't harm people anymore.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but the way that the curse enacts itself, like your body forms all these little holes all over it, and like it gets all bruised and gets these holes, like I don't even know what to describe it like. It's fucking gross though. And there's a entity of some sort that kind of looms around, and it's supposed to be, I guess, a spiritual manifestation of the Mother Buddha deity, who was revealed to be not an actual Buddha, but an evil deity that they kind of have to placate, which is why that little girl had to cut her ear off, and she demanded a flesh sacrifice, but not death, but just, something to appease her, I guess. But where I'm going with this, and the reason why I had to spoil the curse thing is, and how it ties in with this, is just like this fucking, there's nothing to this at all other than an idea that I had. But what if this actual event that happened was based around this curse? And what if the names, the Wu family, what if that name changed? Or maybe it was being used as like a pseudonym, and a member of the family actually wrote the screenplay and then got it put into production and did this intentionally because of the curse, and had to put that whole thing in the movie so that it was like, oh, okay, so this is the whole idea, is that now we're all cursed. And it makes it kind of like The Ring, where you watch the film and then you're cursed to die in 7 days, and you've got to share it with other people in order to skip you. But in this case, what if it's real? And what if I'm cursed, and now because I preface this by saying that you had to watch the movie in order to listen to the show. You are now cursed as well. What then? What then, Mateo?
Well, I mean, it would be that easy to get something like that accomplished.
Yeah. I mean, in the age of viral marketing and YouTube and TikTok especially, man, you can fucking worm your way into people's brains with that shit. If there was a way to digitally curse somebody, it would be so fucking easy to do.
Yeah, right. I mean,
There's this one part in the movie, it's so fucking, like, it's really cool, but it's really fucking freaky. Like, the screen goes black, and in red, it's just the symbol for the incantation, which if you look up the Incantation movie and just do an image search, you'll see the symbol I'm talking about. But the screen's all black and it's that symbol in red, and all it is chanting the 6 syllables over and over again. And at first it has the 6 syllables spelled out on the screen, but then it's every time a syllable gets hit, a different word will come up on the screen. But the background stays the constant black and the symbol is red. And then all of a sudden it stops and the screen goes white, but the image is burned onto your eyes. And then as soon as that happens, you find out that it's a curse and not protection.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude, it's mindfuckery at its finest.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a super fucking cool movie, man. Even though you're probably cursed, you should still watch it. If you made it this far and you didn't watch it, just watch it. We're all cursed anyway. Help lessen the curse. Do your part.
That's kind of an interesting twist on a curse. The more who partake, it weakens the curse. I mean, that could be the case for many cultures. I don't know, but as for first time I'm hearing something about like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the way that I don't know if this was the way it was intended or not, but the way that I see it is that this Mother Buddha deity is it's like her divine power is this curse. So the more people that share the power, because her power, she doesn't have infinite power. So the more people that have to draw on that power, the weaker it is. It's like you go to the dollar store, you got your dollar, but then you got your buddy who wants to go to the dollar store and like, fuck, man. Well, I guess we're limited. We got to buy the 2 for $1 stuff. And then you got another buddy who comes along and you're like, well, shit, I don't think they've got any 3 for $1 stuff here, but maybe. And then a fourth buddy comes along and you're like, dude, we're out of luck, man. We got to get some fucking gumballs, and that's where we're at. Then your 5th buddy shows up and you're like, shit, we got to split our gumballs. And then eventually everyone just gets like a little crumb of gum and nobody has anything.
Very interesting. You got to tell that 5th friend to fuck off.
Yeah, fuck off, 5th friend. We all have gumballs. You came late. I was here all along. You guys were just ignoring me. No gumball for you, you son of a bitch. Speak up next time.
He's cursed anyway. What does it matter?
Yeah, the cursed 5th wheel. You're just a spare, bud.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch the movie. I like to know the spoilers, as they say. I just like to know what's going to fucking happen. I don't really care. I still want to see it myself, so.
Well, there's plenty of, like, even though I gave you the basic outline and the twist ending, there's a lot in between that's plenty fucking creepy that I did not even remotely spoil. So there's still plenty to watch. It's just, if you missed out on the twist ending, like, it's kind of a bummer because it comes as a big surprise.
Mike knows what he's talking about. He used to write reviews for horror movies, didn't you?
I did, actually, yeah. Man, I miss those days. That was fun. I got to watch all sorts of crazy movies.
The good old days.
Yeah. Those were the good old days. Yeah, now I don't even know where the fuck I'd find time to do that.
Right.
Who's got the time?
Just thinking about doing all the SCP stuff, man. I'm like, dude, how did we do?
I know. Yeah. And it's so fun. I love doing that shit. But yeah, really, most of the time when we would do that stuff, it would be like after the show and like, it would be on nights where I wasn't tired, and I'd be like, you know what? I'm just going to bang out an SCP. I got all my shit out.
Yeah.
Don't need to set anything up. Just bang it out and do it. And then I would be tired the next day, but, you know, like the Mariana Trench one, I read that in one sitting. I'm just going to bang it out, man. Just do it. Yeah. What'd you guys think? Did you guys like that? You want us to do more? We won't do them regularly, though, but we could post them to YouTube if you guys are interested in hearing them. And if not, then, you know, don't say anything and we won't do anything. Easy exchange.
Free of charge.
Free of charge, we won't do nothing.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.